You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry, ChillyBoy Chillson, and this is my review for The Creator. Now, before we get into this review, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. The Creator is a 2023 science fiction action film from director Gareth Edwards. As a future war rages on between the human race and artificial intelligence, a former agent is recruited to hunt down the Creator and the mysterious weapon that they have developed, which has enough power to end not only the war, but all of mankind. But soon, Joshua is faced with the reality that this AI weapon is actually in the form of a young child. The film stars John David Washington, Gemma Chan, Allison Janney, and Ken Watanabe. So I actually got to experience 3 different scenes from The Creator at San Diego Comic-Con back in July. That's where they handed out this exclusive poster. And it instantly shot up my most anticipated films for the remainder of the year. So when I saw that they had an early access IMAX showing, yeah, I had to hit it up. And subsequently, get this poster over here. Not to mention, in general, I am a huge sucker for high concept fantasy and science fiction that deals with deeper issues that connect to my heart while building some sort of alternate world. So while it seems that Hollywood has quite the obsession with sentient robots, I have to say, I'm a sucker for almost all of them. That's right. All the way back to something like Short Circuit, I get so endeared with these humanoid or human-esque robots that endear the audience to them. Yeah, I even liked Chappie, so that kind of shows you how far down the rabbit hole I am. So of course, I was hyped to see The Creator. And ultimately, I think this is a beautiful, ambitious film that certainly does have its flaws, but ultimately overcomes those to deliver an impactful viewing experience. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. If you've seen the trailers, if you've seen any of this marketing material, you'll be very happy to hear that one of the biggest positives with this film is the visual effects. It is absolutely stunning. Whether it is our artificial intelligence and their really crazy, cool designs that are really half humanoid, with the back half of their heads being like these exposed wheels, it looks seamless and gorgeous. But of course, the ships look amazing. The battles look fantastic. Everything about this movie looks stunning. The cinematography is absolutely top tier to match those stunning visual effects. And of course, Gareth Edwards delivers from that director's chair. He gives a vision loud and clear on what it's meant to be. He builds this world out for the audience to be a part of and visually brings it to life in the most spectacular way. And I think the overall messaging works really well as well. This film deals with quite a lot, sometimes maybe a bit too much, but when it comes down to the core message, this is an anti-war film. But further than that, it takes things to a pretty searing indictment of the United States and our meddling in affairs we don't belong in, first of all. But also, it actually drew a pretty searing allegory to the start of that war, lies about weapons of mass destruction and all. But it really delves into the darkness of humankind without ever losing that hopefulness, which of course you need in a film like this. As much as I, the person, like to say humans suck, you got to say humans suck, but also there's some goodness there. And this film does strike that balance. And yeah, I loved the character of Alfie. Alpha Omega, or the child, not you, Grogu. I loved this character. I thought Madeline Yuna, who played Alfie, was so adorable and so charismatic in this role. She's certainly not only the heart of this film, but really the glue that holds everything together. You have to be endeared to this small child AI, or none of this works. This little actress was more than up for the task, and she had me fully invested in her story and thus fully invested in this world and what was taking place. I also found the action to be really well done. There are several big action set pieces in this film, and they are gorgeous. They are so well shot. They are exhilarating. They have high stakes. This film, across the board, has high stakes. People go down for real, for real. It's not a hero's tale by any means. It is not an overly optimistic tale by any means. There are consequences and sacrifices to be made, and it gave the film such heavy stakes that really elevated the material overall. This isn't just your run of the mill big blockbuster action flick with a slight environmental message. No, no. It goes a lot deeper than that, both on the messaging front and when it comes down to the gravity of just the movie you're watching. The action is exhilarating, heart pounding, and there's a lot of action set pieces that range in size, but when they're big, they are dynamic. So then, what doesn't work so well when it comes to the creator? Well, the format is my biggest issue with this film. It's told heavily through flashback. We have a lot of flashback moments mixed in as we go along. And unfortunately, I think everything would have hit harder if it was just told in a linear fashion. The whole flashback with this romance just, I don't know, took me out of what I was really here for. Honestly, the romance period just didn't really work for me. I didn't feel it. I didn't care about it. I cared more about this child and their connection to both sides of the romance rather than the romance itself. And the film really wants you to care about this romance. It's supposed to be this big emotional heartbeat throughout the film, possibly even more than the child themselves. But I never connected to it, and I could have done away with it altogether. But it's made even worse through the fact that we experience pretty much all the encounters of the romance through flashback. So while I think by the end there are emotions, if you're a crier, I'm sure the waterworks will be coming. However, I think it all could have just wrapped up and hit so much harder if they had told this in a linear fashion. And hand in hand with that format are these really weird title cards that just introduce people, kind of. They just like put up a title, like The Child, up on the screen. And instead of being like this artistic way of telling the story, these artistic chapters or something, it felt more like a cheap way to just transport us in the narrative to where we need to go. We need to get to this child. So even though we're nowhere around it or we're not by it or anything right now, throw up the child on the screen, hard cut, and we can jump time or something. They do it with a character who is so inconsequential in the film as well. This very inconsequential person in the grand scheme of everything gets a title card, has this mini segment kind of dedicated to them, but even in their own mini segment, they don't do anything. And ultimately, I think we could have gotten to that part of the story without them ever being there. And that's the case for a lot of these side characters. We don't really get to know most of them. We get to know Joshua through his relationships and just kind of what his desire in the world is. And we get to know Alfie, but we don't even really get to know Maya, the Gemma Chan character, or any of these others. I think the robots actually have the most stakes in the film, which feels intentional. But honestly, I think we could have done a lot to really empathize Allison Janney's character. They start you at the beginning, and I thought they were going to make her a really compelling character. And ultimately, they kind of just go down the rabbit hole of her being just military tough woman. And I think that's a shame. And I have to say, almost all of my negatives really do tie into the structure, because my final negative is that the second into the third act has some big lulls between action set pieces. We have these momentum halting dead spaces. Now, a film like this actually needs quiet space. And this film does do that. These moments where we're just getting to experience a village, their animals, their way of life. This film needs those moments to really drive home the ultimate message. Those aren't the moments I'm talking about. we have times where we're not really empathizing with people. We're not getting to experience the humanity through Alfie's eyes. We just kind of come to a screeching halt where not much is happening to progress the film forward, narratively, emotionally, or thematically. So I don't think 2 hours and 15 minutes is a bad runtime. I just think that runtime could have been reallocated to have more purpose. But overall, I really enjoyed The Creator. As I said, it's certainly not a perfect film. It has plenty of flaws, but it ultimately succeeds in creating the emotional impact it needs, the intellectual impact it desires, and the cinematic impact that you go to the movies for. This beautiful score overlays a stunning film that will make you feel and make you think. It's kind of what blockbusters are all about. So, all of that is to say, go and check out The Creator, particularly if you're a sci fi fan. I think you're going to find a lot to really love in this film. And if you have any interest in seeing The Creator, I beg you, head to a movie theater, get an IMAX ticket, Adobe ticket, whatever the format is in your area. Just see this on a big screen with big speakers that will fully invest you in the experience of The Creator. So that was my review for The Creator. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below, and go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see The Creator, or have you already checked it out? Let me know all of your thoughts either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.